Welcome to the engineering class for September the 9th. Before I get into new material, does anybody have any questions about the assignment last night or anything in general?
Sir,
Yeah,
I I sent my assignment and then you told me to let you access it by making it public. I made it public now.
okay, good. All right, thanks for letting me know that. I will go back in and take a look at it. Make a note here so I don't forget. Okay, and just for the rest of you, for the rest of your benefit there, what happened was that one, he loaded his up to Google Drive rather than rather than putting it on YouTube or rather than sending me the actual file because the file was really big. So he put it on YouTube or on Google Drive, and he sent me a link to it, but I wasn't able to open up the link. There is a bug that you guys need to be aware of, that with Google Docs and the way, or Google Drive, either one, the same, uh, between Google Docs Drive and the Ames email, they quite often, the permissions don't get transferred properly. So if you put some file on the drive there and you set it to be a protected file, and then you give me permission to open it, and you send me an email, well, the permissions don't get transferred because I don't want to go into all the details, but it's a common bug, and it's not just me, but other Ames teachers have the same problem. So if you make the document be not private but make it be public, then that's the easiest way to do it. If you really want it to be private, which I can understand. I mean, if it's a video of you in your home, you may not want it to be publicly available for every view. So if that's the case, send me an email. And what I can do is there is a procedure that we can follow that will let me get in to see your document, but it's a little tricky and I don't want to take the time to explain it now because it won't apply to most of you. But I can send you an email privately and we can work it out. Any other questions? All right. Then let me talk a little bit about the feedback on the final reports that you submitted. First off, many of you did not submit a final report. Uh, did you not know it was due today? It was due 10 minutes ago, and I'm looking on my computer screen right here. I have two computers up, and almost half of you have not yet submitted the reports. It's less than half, but it's not a whole lot less than half. It's a very disturbingly large number of you have not submitted your final reports. This is serious, guys. You know that I only allow 2 late assignments per term, and after that you get zeros. And this one was worth 50 points, which is a lot more than the regular project because this was your final report. So that's going to hurt. So if you thought it was PM rather than AM, well, you thought wrong. It was in writing and it was clear. And by the way, it is PM because 12:44 PM would be about 15 minutes ago. Okay? So anyway, now those of you that did submit reports, they varied in quality. Some of them were really well done. Some of them not so much. Let's talk a little bit about what a good report needs to include. In fact, well, I want everybody to pay close attention to this because even those of you that submitted reports, the vast majority of you, I'm going to have you resubmit them. If you submitted a report on time, I'm going to count it on time and I'll give you points. I will count it as my fault that I did not explain well enough what I wanted to see in the reports. I thought that I had, but I obviously did not. So let's go into a Word document. I hope you guys are all seeing that now. Okay, so in your reports, okay, what I want to see is I want to see some sort of a title. So paper airplane project, final report, and then your name. And then, now I didn't ask for this, and so I won't dock you for not doing this, but from now on, I want to see on your reports, after your name, I want you to say that it's for Mr. Hendricks's engineering class at the Academy for Math and Engineering and Science. Okay. And by the way, I want all this to be centered and bold. Now, this, oops, not right. I want it centered. Okay. And I want that to be centered also. And I want it to be bold also. Okay. Now, I also quite often like to see the title page with, hang on just a sec, somebody just joined. I need to take care of that. Okay. All right. So I also like it if you include a little graphic object there. So, you know, if you can go on the web and find some sort of an image, you know, maybe it's an image of an airplane, you know, hopefully better drawn than that. You know, some sort of a picture. I like to see that. Okay, and so then this would be the title page. Now, I didn't ask you to do a title page before, so this is new. I'm asking you to do a title page now. Okay, and so then let's go down to the next page. Right, now on this page, I'm going to want an introduction. Are you guys all taking careful notes? And again, I want that to be centered and bold. Okay, and so in the introduction here, I want you to talk about just a couple sentences are good enough. Trey, you might want to turn off your camera there. We're recording. Okay, right. So just a couple sentences here that talk about, you know, in general, what is the project about? Okay. And so I'm expecting like 2 or 3 sentences there. Okay. And then the next thing that I want to see here is the functional specification. And as before, I like that to be centered and bold. Okay. Now, most of you included a functional specification, but you didn't label it as such. All right. So I have a whole bunch of stuff in here. Okay. So that's going to be a lot longer than that. Okay. So this functional specification, you already turned in a functional specification, and many of you did a good job. So if you're one of the ones that did a good job, you can just take what you did before, cut it and paste it, and put it in here, and you're done. But several of you, I wasn't especially pleased with your functional specifications. I thought they needed a lot more detail. You left out some really important requirements. Maybe you didn't fully describe what the materials were that the airplane needed to be made of. Maybe you didn't describe some of the things that you could not do with your airplane, you know, no tape, no paper clips. Maybe you didn't describe very well the testing process. All of those things needed to be in your functional specification. So I'm going to just show 3 lines here as my functional specification, but for most of you, it's going to be like a full page of your functional specification, right? Another thing that many of you left out was the engineering specification. All right, and again, because this is a section header, I want it to be centered and I want it to be bold. Okay, this is something that a lot of you left out. And I specifically said, I want the engineering specification in the final report. Okay, so In this one, there's going to be lots of pictures and things. Most of you included really good pictures. Some of you downloaded the pictures from the internet rather than doing them yourself, which I said was okay. But some of you actually went and drew your own pictures, which wow, kudos to you. I thought that was really good that you drew the pictures yourself. So great for you. But if you just downloaded them from the internet, I told you that would be okay, and so it is okay. All right. And then lastly, I need the testing results. How about let's call it testing and results. All right, and again, this is a new section, so I want it to be bold and centered. Okay. All right, and no, so now I need some sentences here that tell me about tell me about the testing. And if your prototype didn't work as well as you wanted it to, talk about that. And because I know some of you did change your model. You mentioned that, and that was a plus. I really like that. Some of you, when you made your airplane and you tossed it, you decided that you didn't really like it so much, and so you went back and redesigned it. And kudos to you. That's wonderful. So I want you to tell me some words, sentences, paragraphs that describe what did you do, what did you find out, and then of course the results. Okay, that's really important. So, your first one, you were off by 23 inches, and then the next one, 33. And, so basically, put in the results, which almost everybody did a reasonably good job putting in the results. Okay. And then the video obviously can't fit in the report here. If you put your video up on YouTube, then it would be a good thing to put a link in here to the video. But if you didn't do that, then that's okay. You don't need to have a link in here. All right. So in my little example here, this is all. So I've got one page for my cover page, and then I've got everything else fitting on one page. But in reality, that there's no way it's going to fit on one page. I mean, I'm expecting this is going to be several pages here. The engineering specification is at least a page, probably more. For most of you, it was. Functional specification for most of you fit okay on one page. And then the testing results, a little bit, a page is going to be more than enough for that, maybe even a half a page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and look at all of the submissions that you guys made, including the ones that I've already graded. Some of you may have noticed that I've already gone ahead and graded your submissions. I'm going to go back a second time now that I've looked through them and thought about it some more, and I'm going to send you a comment via Canvas that either says that your report is good enough, you don't need to resubmit it, or I'm going to say I want you to resubmit your report, and this is what I want you to do differently. Okay. The due date for the resubmitted report is going to be this coming Friday. Now, since we don't meet on Friday, I'm going to make it be midnight on Friday. So that way you can use the class time on Friday, the 90 minutes that we have allotted to this class on Friday. Since we're not meeting, you can use that to work on your report if you want. And if you don't finish it then, you can go work on it later in the afternoon or even the evening. But by midnight Friday night, I want to see a resubmitted report from most of you. And it's very few of you who turned in reports that I'm completely satisfied with. And again, I don't hold it as your fault. I hold it as mine. I did not make it plain what I wanted. Basically, I wanted to see what kind of stuff you guys did on your own. I purposely left this a little vague just to see what do you guys do when you don't have explicit step-by-step instructions. And what I found is that some of you really did an outstanding job. Others of you let it slide because you thought that I would allow it to be allow you to slide it. And so I don't fault you for that. But from now on, I'm going to be a little more strict. I want reports to be better written than what I saw today and last night. Okay, So are there any questions about the rework on the final reports? Not seeing any questions, not hearing any questions. So remember, everybody should check Canvas, and I will work on it this afternoon and in the evening. So by midnight tonight, I will send each one of you a note via Canvas telling you whether you need to resubmit the assignment or not. Okay, so if you don't hear from me by tomorrow morning, send me an email saying, hey, Mr. Hendricks, I didn't hear from you. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions, so okay, so I'm going to move on. This coming Friday, again, is a work day. It is not a day off. Just because we're not meeting on Friday doesn't mean it's a day off. So there is an assignment that I'm going to give you today. I'm going to let you work on it on Friday and over the weekend. And so first time we meet next week, this assignment is going to be due. Let's go take a look at Canvas. Okay. All right, so you should be seeing my Canvas screen right now. Let's go down and click on the engineering tab and go down to the bottom, click on assignments. And so now so we are now finished with what I call module 1, which is basically what is engineering and what is the engineering design process. That's what I call module 1. We are starting into our next module now, which is aeronautical engineering. And so we kind of sort of have already started on it with our paper airplanes, but now we're going to do it for real. We're going to look at real airplanes. And so if we click on this, it will take you to a page where I have a whole bunch of links right here to movies that are, these are like, well, movies, they're like television episodes where they talk about some famous airplane crashes. And so each one of these is somewhere between 40 minutes to an hour long. So you're going to need to allocate, you should allocate at least an hour to, or you should allocate an hour to watch these. So when you click on these links, it will download a file to your computer. And that file that it downloads is going to be a WMV file, which should work depending on what software you have, what movie viewer software you have. WMV files should work for pretty much everybody's software. But I recognize that some of you might not be able to open a WMV file. Okay, so although I prefer that you follow the pattern here, like, so if your last name starts with A or B, I want you to download this movie about United Airlines. If your last name starts with C through H, I want you to do the British Airways and so forth and so on. But if for some reason you can't open the WMV file, I do have a backup file here. This is a link to a YouTube video. So if you just click on this link and watch it, you don't need to download any files. And so everybody should be able to view this one. So as you can see here, depending on what the letters of your last name are, that determines which of the things you're going to watch. Now, let me throw a question out for you. You guys, you've probably heard in the news about airplanes, and you may have watched a few of these programs about airplanes and why they crash. Would somebody mind either type into the chat box or unmute yourself and tell me, what do you think is the #1 cause of airplane crashes? If you were to go and study all of the airplane crashes that have ever occurred and say, you know, this one crashed because of this one crashed because of that, what do you suppose is the #1 cause of airplane crashes?
Electronics maybe failing.
Okay, so I'm hearing electronics. Somebody said a message, engine failure. Ezekiel thinks that it's user and equipment error. So Ezekiel, I need you to decide, is it user error or equipment error? Okay. Well, tell you what, I'll go ahead and give you the answer because we're just guessing. Actually, the number one cause for airplane crashes is human error. The pilots did something wrong, right? There was nothing wrong with the electronics. There's nothing wrong with the engine. There's nothing wrong with the engine. The pilots just messed up. They got distracted. Maybe they were too tired because they didn't get enough sleep, or just for some inexplicable reason, they didn't do what they were supposed to have done. That is the number one cause of airplane crashes. Okay. Now, the airplane crashes that we're going to be studying. Oops, not that one. Try that again. Let me go back to here. Okay. So each of the airplane crashes that you see on the screen right now, these are ones that I selected because they were not due to human error. Okay. Each one of these crashes here, they were due to engineering mistakes. The engineers did something wrong, and that caused the airplanes to crash. So I have purposely selected these guys out for that reason, right? So when you're watching these videos, okay, I want you to take notes because you are going to have to write up a short 1 or 2 page summary. Hang on, okay. All right, so I am going to require next time, so when we meet on next week, next time we meet, which will be next week, I'm going to require you to write up a short 1 or 2 page summary. And these are the questions that I want you to answer. So make sure that when you're watching the video, you have a notepad handy. So number one is I want you to explain what caused the airplane to crash. Okay. Did the engine fail? Did it run out of gas? Is there, what part specifically caused the airplane to crash? Okay. Now, at the same time, I want you to look to see if there are other factors that contributed to the crash, because pretty much always, maybe not every time, but most of the time, it's not just one thing failing that causes the crash. Airplanes are designed to be what we call redundant. Okay, everything in an airplane that can be redundant is redundant. Now you need to know, what does the word redundant mean? Anybody want to unmute yourselves and tell me what is, or you can type in the chat box. If we say that something is redundant, what does that mean? Nobody wants to speak up? Okay, well, I'll tell you then. It means that you've got a backup. Okay, like for instance, let's say you've got some hydraulic lines, because in the front of the airplane, the pilot is steering here or pushing pedals or whatnot. And there are usually lines. They used to all be hydraulic lines, but now more and more they're electrical lines. But anyway, if we've got a line that goes from the pilot's control back to the tail of the airplane or wherever the thing is that needs to move, okay. Because we want to be super safe, we always have more than just one line. We want to have like 2 lines, or actually sometimes even 3 lines, so that if for some reason one of those hydraulic lines were to get cut, there would be another hydraulic line to back it up so that the airplane wouldn't crash. All right. So this is something that's a very important concept in airplanes, but also cars and other things do it as well. You have what's called a redundant system. So in your car, when you put your foot on the brake, there is a hydraulic line that goes from the foot pedal back to the brakes. Well, there's actually 2. There's actually 2 lines, so that if one of those lines accidentally gets cut, or maybe it rubs against some metal and so it gets cut, and so your hydraulic fluid leaks out, well, you've still got the other line there, so the car will still stop. So every airplane should have these backup safety features. And so, I keep opening the wrong one there. Try this again. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so usually when an airplane crashes, it's not because one thing crashed or one thing failed. It's not because one thing failed. It's because more than one thing failed. Okay, because of redundancy, even though this one thing failed, even though, I better be careful which finger I do that with. Even though this one thing failed, the other thing should be there to back it up. So usually you have to have more than one thing fail in order for the airplane to crash. So I want to know what was the primary cause of the crash, but also I want to know what other factors contributed to the crash. Okay. And then the third thing that I want you to be watching for is how did the air crash investigators, how did they figure out what it was that went wrong? I mean, this is actually a difficult problem because if you think about it, when an airplane crashes, quite often all you've got when the investigators go to look at the crash scene, all they get are little tiny bits of metal lying around, or maybe it's in the ocean. So maybe they don't ever recover all the airplane. They might just get a few little pieces of the airplane. So how in the world can they piece everything together and figure out what the cause of the crash was? That in and of itself is a major engineering challenge, just figuring out what happened. So make sure that you talk about how they figured out what it was that happened. Okay. And then question number 4 here is a really important one. As I just said a minute ago, all of the crashes that I've selected for you are crashes that were not due to pilot error. They were due to engineering problems, engineering design problems, or somewhere something in the engineering process went wrong. And so I want you to figure out what was the engineering design flaw or maintenance error that was the cause of the cause. You see this phrase that I use here, the cause of the cause, okay? So the thing that brought the airplane down was some mechanical or electrical thing that failed. But what was the engineering flaw that caused that cause? All right. Now, last but definitely not least is after the crash investigators, they determine what the cause of the crash was. They write up a report, and then people read the report and they say, oh my goodness, we better change the way we do things. Okay. So in your report, I want you to finish up your report by answering the question of what engineering design changes or maintenance procedural changes were made in order to prevent a crash like this from happening ever again. Okay. Now, there were a couple cases here where the engineering design change was recommended, but it wasn't yet implemented for various reasons. So if that's the case, I still want you to talk about it. So why would they not make the change there? If the crash investigators say, hey, you really need to change this thing, why haven't they changed it? All right. So you can see from here which one you guys should do. So if you're A through B, you're going to study the United Airlines Flight 232. If C through H, you're going to do British Airways Flight 38, and so forth and so on, all the way down here. So everyone should be able to do one of these downloadable files. This one that you see on YouTube here, that's just a backup, just in case for whatever reason you can't do the one that you're supposed to do. All right. Are there any questions about this?
Due Friday, right?
Okay. Yeah. This particular one is not due on Friday. The assignment that's due on Friday is the rewrite of the report that you should have submitted to me today, which, by the way, some of you have not yet done. And so you're going to get docked points for that. But the report on the paper airplane project that you guys have been working on for the last week or so, that is due on Friday. This report about the airplane crashes, that one is due when we meet next week. So let's see. So Friday is a B day. That means Monday is an A day. So Tuesday of next week, that's the next time we're going to meet. So it's due at the beginning of class on Tuesday. No more questions? Okay, there is one other thing that just occurred to me I should have said at the very beginning of the class. Let me say it now. If any of you know someone who was killed in an airplane crash, and this assignment is something that would cause you a lot of grief and pain and open up old wounds, and so you're not comfortable doing this assignment, I will fully understand, and I will not require you to do this assignment. I can find another assignment for you to do. So if that's the case, send me an email privately, and I will find an alternate assignment for you to do, because I don't want to open up the old wounds, because I'm sure that would be traumatic if you knew somebody who died in an airplane crash. I don't want to open up old wounds. Okay. Well, last chance for questions. All right. Now, we still have quite a bit of time left in this class. This class does not officially end until 2:10. So that means we've got about 45 minutes left of class time. I'm going to end the Zoom meeting, but that does not mean the class is over. You can't head off and do, you can't go play. I want you to use this time to get started on either rewriting your reports, because some of you don't need me to tell you that you need to rewrite your report. I mean, based on what I just got through telling you I want to see in the report, I'm sure that most of you are gonna look at what you submitted and say, well, yeah, I obviously have to redo mine. Okay, so don't wait for me to send you that note. But if you're one of the lucky few who did a really good job, then I won't make you redo it. So use the next 45 minutes to get started watching your video. Okay. Last chance for questions before I end the meeting. Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay, I will see you guys on Tuesday. Don't forget, you have an assignment due on Friday, even though we don't meet on Friday. Right? And also don't forget to type bye into the chat box, because otherwise you might not get credit for being here. So long, everybody.